All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here again, talking real music in real time for a few real people out there, just like you right there, just like me right here. Okay, before I get going, got this amazing album a number of years ago. My friend Brian Cole, who is a frequent guest on this show, who used to sing lead vocals for the band Giant. This is his album called Sands of Time. Now, I'd like to say you can just go out and buy this somewhere, but it's not easy to find. Um, eBay, maybe. Um, there are a few sites that you might want to try out. Maybe over in Europe, there are outlets that still have this, but just a terrific record. Songs by Jim Peterick on here, and a lot of other material that was either released or music that Brian wrote himself. It's very cohesive. It rocks out. It's melodic. The album cover alone should be incentive enough to check it out. But again, I don't even think you can stream the album. There might be a couple of songs that were uploaded to Spotify and to YouTube. It's kind of a shame that you can't just go and listen to the entire thing. But hey, if you're serious about collecting music, Sands of Time, Brian Cole, fantastic album. Um, Speaking of fantastic, Van Halen was still on a roll in the 90s, but of course, the grunge apocalypse hit and hit really hard. And people are finally starting to acknowledge within the industry that, hey, this is kind of weird. All of a sudden, the music that everybody was digging was no longer popular. And I've been over this a gazillion times. And most people are like, dude, Stone Temple Pilots, that's classic rock now. Just get over it. And I'm like, no, it's not classic rock, but whatever. It's older, grungy, dark rock, right? It's older, but just because it's old doesn't mean it's classic rock. But then you've got people with different definitions of what classic rock is. But in the 90s, Van Halen was going strong. And then, that happens. The music scene changes. And I've always said this, like, how come you couldn't have the melodic stuff and the grungy dark stuff? Why couldn't you have both of them? And for a while, there was some competition, but between the radio stations, the industry itself, the record labels, um, what's hot right now? Well, it certainly isn't Van Halen with Sammy Hagar, right? So Sammy does this interview with Rolling Stone, and he says the worst thing that Van Halen could have done, or the biggest mistake they ever made, was to hire Gary Sharon. This is Sammy Hagar. We weren't getting the spins on MTV. We weren't getting the spins even on radio. And so that was bad timing for Gary. So whether or not it didn't work for whatever reasons, it was just a bad time to be making that move. He says that was the biggest mistake the band has ever made, I think. He talks about having sympathy for Gary Sharon. Gary is a great guy. The band still had a lot of legs back then, but when Gary came, that type of music, even Van Halen, the mighty Van Halen, was going down because of the grunge movement and all that. I mean, it was kind of over for us. We weren't getting any positive press. So, I think Mitch Malloy would have been a better choice, number one. I think Mitch Malloy is more of a chameleon, the way he sings, whereas I think Gary is just Gary, right? Gary sounds like Extreme, whereas Mitch Malloy can pull off both the Hagar and the Roth years. I don't know how Gary Sharon really pulls off either. And I think that's part of the problem as well. And obviously, Gary didn't last a very long time. And what's weird is obviously Sammy would come back with that ill-fated reunion tour, and then the whole Sam and Dave fiasco, which was just awful. Although I guess if you attended one of those, it was probably really cool, right? And here we are today. the best thing you can do is go out and listen to Sammy Hagar and the Circle. They sound terrific. They've got new music out there. And Vic Johnson, an absolute beast, one of the most underrated people in all of music today. Vic Johnson. If you haven't heard his guitar playing, you owe it to yourself to go listen to Vic because he's really good. But the bottom line here is that biggest mistake Van Halen ever made most likely was hiring Gary Cherone, and maybe second biggest mistake was firing Sammy Hagar, right? Or this article that was written in Rolling Stone basically talks about how it was reported that he was, that he quit, but really he was fired, according to Sammy Hagar. So again, this is water under the bridge. I guess the overarching principle would be that Van Halen is done. It appears that it's done and it's not coming back. And the Van Halen tribute likely not going to happen because everybody's blaming everybody else. Wolf is basically out there saying things like, well, Sammy didn't want to sing this stuff and now he does. And, nobody trusts anybody to make this happen. And you can't even get like Irving Azoff out there, who I'm sure would love to organize this. You can't even get him to say, hey, these guys should do something and I'll spearhead it. All this stuff goes on behind the scenes, and apparently, Alex is quiet, and I don't know. Dave says there should be a tribute to Dave. So maybe there'll be a David Lee Roth tribute concert coming soon, according to Roth himself. I don't know, people. It's really sad that this is just going to end this way. If you're a Van Halen fan, you've looked at this for a long time and you've wondered, hey, there have been like 2 Taylor Hawkins tribute concerts and there have been 0. If you went to the Taylor tribute, right, and you saw Wolf do a couple of Van Halen songs, apparently that's your Eddie Van Halen tribute. I've suggested to a couple of other bands that, hey, maybe do a segment, where you play Eruption and then, meld it into another song of your own catalog. I mean, there are a couple of guys out there who can handle that. And it would be really cool to see them performing that piece of music as a tribute to Eddie Van Halen. I remember, for instance, when Journey did their tribute to Aretha Franklin. And I think they did one to Prince as well. So, just random food for thought here. But it is pretty interesting how Gary Cherone gets singled out as the biggest mistake that Van Halen ever made by Sammy Hagar, who I think knows his stuff and is out there doing some great things even today. One more time for Brian Cole, ladies and gentlemen, my good buddy Brian Cole, who's been on the show a few times. Sands of Time. I just like to show off this album cover and just spectacular artwork. Really well done album. I don't know how many years ago. It seems like it was a long time ago, and it kind of was now, which is really sad. Not as much melodic rock out there as there used to be. And anyway, Brian Cole, Sands of Time. Check it out. My name is Dave. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications for new videos. All of my videos go over to Odyssey and Rumble, in case you're over there. I don't know. You probably won't see this if you're over there, but just food for thought. I know a lot of people have started following me on Rumble. That's really nice. But again, I would like people to continue to subscribe over here as well. We had a big glitch happen on Saturday, and it freaked me out and a number of other people who are on this platform as well. So your support is still appreciated, and new subscribers, of course, always welcome. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all soon.